Now, ladies and gentlemen, for our keynote speech, our speaker was the Chief Financial Officer of SMRT Corporation Limited and Deputy CEO for Hyflux Limited. He has also worked for 15 years for the Dow Chemical Company, holding regional and global leadership positions with responsibilities ranging investment, treasury, risk planning, project financing, and also M&A. He joined Vena Energy as Chief Financial Officer in June 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Sam Ong, CFO of Vena Energy and CFO Coalition participant.
Good afternoon. Glad to be the keynote speaker physically in the room. My colleagues, CFO Coalition co-chairs, messages are very clear. And we are here, cannot find a better time than at the back of the COP27 in Egypt, where funding is meant to be a reset to build and bridge the gap in the world for financing sustainable development activities and projects. And thank you very much for the MC for the introduction. I'm the CFO of Vena Energy, a renewable energy based in Singapore. And I'm one of the founding members with my colleagues of the co-chairs of CFO Coalition. I still remember the time when I was asked to be the founding member, and what attracted me was the tagline of the CFO Coalition of accelerating action. It's not just the ambition, but it is about the action that draw me into many Zoom calls, sometimes 1 a.m. Pacific area time. When you have co-chairs in the Europe and the US, you tend to be a bit on the short end of the stick when it comes to the timing of the Zoom. And many Zoom calls in the midnights talking about how we are able to be responsible for our profession and how we are expanding our network to help in our profession, in our own industries, for what is to come and in helping shaping the bank's agenda, in educating them as to what we do. And I have the privilege to be a 100% clean, green energy company. And I think I do have some slides, but I think if the slides are not up, yeah, we can go to the second slide. This is a bit of a re-emphasis of what UNGC SDG goals. It is a very comprehensive one. And I think what I wanted to emphasize today is to make sure that we know the principles behind CFO Coalition and the driving force of our ambition and action. And it is, in summary, kind of a busy slide. If I could just summarize that as CFO, we are not doing anything different to this agenda than what we are doing with our listed or unlisted companies we work for. It is first and foremost a measurement of what we are doing. And the 4 principles to integrate sustainable development in corporate investments and finance is about, first and foremost, the SDGs goals, impact, and what we are trying to do and the reason why we do it, and measure them. As CFOs, we measure a lot of things, and we are the custodian of the massive database to do what we need to do to measure our performance, and this comes as a natural extension to use the same data to translate into what are the impacts we have for not just the economic bottom line, but also a bottom line that benefits the environment. After the measurement is really about the management of it, of activities, and to accelerate action, we believe that we have to be able to start our thinking process and the decision-making process in how we are actually investing in our funds, in our projects. And third, how we are actually collating and attracting the sources of funds for our investments that are responsible, that we would like to be accountable for. And last, when you have the measurement, the management of the investments and finance, the sources and use of funds, we want to be able to report this with perhaps hold ourselves to third-party verification, the reporting of the results, the impact, and in some ways, the relevance and the significance of our contribution to the environment and social governance part of our business. Over the lunch, I have had the chance to talk to a few people, and because of the questions asked of me and asked of SDG, including UN Global Compact KPIs, it is very clear to me that we need to find a way to start. It is a way for us here to start the action of incremental improvements of what we do and how we can help our organizations to move forward, contributing to the ESG goals. I made the analogy during lunch that whether it's large corporations or SMEs, you spend a lot of time and efforts getting the ISO certification and standard of operations. Think of this as ISO. ISO in your policy statements and how all of your resources are being aligned to, replace ISO with ESG. And you will find that it is no longer a cost, but an investment in your business to do more business. This is how I think, over the lunch, that the conversation inspired me to share with the forum. Start in incremental small steps, and believe it or not, at the end of the year, you see you have achieved great things, something very different, something very, that you're very proud of as a CFO, and proud of as a finance professionals moving forward. In my next slides, if I may, to just introduce that measurement, management, and reporting part of it, and how Vena Energy is applying those concepts and ESG into our day-to-day work. This is a bit of a engineering slide. It is about how much we are able to produce to benefit of green energy to benefit households, and what is our technology we use to produce our electrons and electricity, and how we are benefiting the different consumers. This is a necessary slide just to give you the where we are and where we felt that we're able to serve our communities in where we work and we play in 8 countries. And this is a 2021 snapshot. It is actually hard to see a renewable energy company which is very new. We are less than 10 years old to be in so many countries with so many gigawatts actually contracted and operating. And this is the 2021 highlights. And in 2022, we are already in December. We are year over year 30% on top of the 2021 highlights that you see here. I just visited my Australian office with the battery operations. We are not the largest there. We are second to Tesla. And next year, we are going to be third and fourth and fifth, perhaps, down the ranking in terms of size before we have projects to bring us up to the top 1, 2 again. But this is such a large growth area of supply of electrons using green sources of energy that it is just a tremendous to see. We are able to be in a privileged position to supply because the demand is there. And in the next slide, you see that we focuses on not just how we supply with different technologies, different regulatory framework. We would like to see ourselves as one embracing the UNGC SDG KPIs selectively. We are not going to be there, for example, to contribute to world hunger. At least that's not what I see here. We want to be in our own ways, accelerating the energy transition in Asia Pacific. And some of these so-called manuals, we trying to elaborate what we are doing in each and every one of these buttons. And as a CFO, I'm charged with the responsibilities to measure them, that our resources are there to manage them from the time of making a decision to deploy funds to how we negotiate with banks for ESG-linked performance. And I don't know if the CFO Coalition co-chairs have mentioned this. The founding member of the members of the CFO Coalition by ourselves have a market capitalization of close to 2 trillion. And you see the amount of funding available in trillions and trillions of dollars into this arena. For Vena Energy, we contributed to some of those ESG funding and investing those funds into our own business, which is 100% green energy. We issued 3 years ago, probably the first in Singapore, 5-year MTN program of $1 billion. And we have RCF of $500 million. So we have in our arsenal $1.5 billion of green initiatives, some linked, some not, in making sure that we are tapping into this to grow our business. And we are accountable in some of the link notes in 3 areas. What we are able to produce to supply to the communities in terms of megawatts of green energy. We committed ourselves to gender diversity and pay equality in a company. And of course, as still a very much supply and engineering company, we wanted to make sure that we build our plants safely with health and safety measures. And I'm happy to report that as of 2022, we achieved the goals, and that we have a 10 basis points savings on our $1.5 billion platforms. That may not be a lot, but I thought that would be, that would be good as a start. And the important thing is that 5 years ago, if you ask me, are people willing to pay you and incentivize you with even 1 basis points for your ESG-linked notes? I would say no. But 3 years ago, we felt that we have a breakthrough with close to 10 basis points of incentives. And we are taking full advantage of that 10 basis points. And there will be a lot of lunches and D&D for my 8 countries of teams to celebrate. And Vena Energy from responsibly supplying the green energy to how we actually managing our responsibility to end users and anything in between is a challenge. Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 are challenges. And I think, as I mentioned before during the lunch, we need to have incremental improvements and a sense of that achievement and progress and celebrate that every steps of the way as much as we can. And I think we will get there in our own ways of the 1.5 and to make sure that we get our funding and we get our users of the funds to be as responsible as possible that contributes to the key goals that I think UNGC has already established and the CFO Coalition has already endorsed and practiced in our own shops. If the next slide, so this is another slide to talk about not just our generating capacity, our generation, but it is about how Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3, we are measuring ourselves from our accounting data, from our travel and expense data, and from our suppliers' data to quantify these type of impacts, and we manage ourselves accordingly to this measurement. This is a form of reporting to the forum and to our debt holders of our achievement or lack of achievement in some areas. So I think with that, Vena Energy is in a good position to contribute to the environment, and we have a lot more to do. We could just sit back and say that we are in 100% renewable energy and we don't need to do anything else. But as we look into our Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3, there is a lot to be done, especially with our supply chain and our partners and our suppliers that make our business robust. And we want to be able to help ourselves, just like ISO, responsible and verifiable of our actions, not just for the banks, but for our board of directors and our own management performance. I think in the later panels, Sustainalytics, the representative will be there, and we are rated by Sustainalytics at the 9.5 with the negligible risks, and we held ourselves accountable to be improving on this. So ladies and gentlemen, SDG is not a mirage, it is a goal that we can implement into our daily actions. And CFO, all of you, whether you are in the data analytics, artificial intelligence, data mining, or whether you are in all sorts of the construction business or associations for SMEs, go back to your organization and start with just one small goals, actions that you are able to measure, manage, and report, and make sure that the rewards, maybe not penalties, the carrots will be a good incentivization items for the management and for the rest of the employees to follow suit. So I think with that, I leave the rest of the distinguished guests in good hands for the rest of the panels. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sam Ong. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another round of applause for Mr. Sam Ong for his keynote speech. Plenty of takeaways from that speech, in a very interesting speech. Thank you for the speech and also for all the tips. Start, manage, and report. Basically, those are the three words that he kept repeating throughout his speech, urging all the companies to start somewhere, start with small event, manage, and then report. And of course, as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, I came across an article recently. There was this article that says that the cost of not achieving SDGs in companies is greater than the cost of action in the long term. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's work together towards that one common goal.